The Kuk Kamsu were the first to encounter humans, and being who they were, they immediately attacked. This proved unwise. Our galaxy is vast, with only a handful of sentient species capable of interstellar flight. Foremost among them are we, the Amia. As it turned out, humanity had quietly established a modest domain in a remote and largely unremarkable corner of the galaxy. A few dozen colonies within the systems closest to their home star. More importantly, they had no idea that the Kuk Kamsu, or any other sentient species, existed. One might assume that a first encounter between the aggressive, or rather, the uncompromising Kuk Kamsu and an unaware, relatively primitive species would end in human defeat. That was not the case. A Kuk Kamsu armed reconnaissance team discovered a small human settlement on a world designated for economic exploitation by their coordinator, their version of a government. The settlement was recent, established within the last decade, and had not existed during the initial survey. The Kuk Kamsu, being what they are, immediately set about burning it to the ground. Perhaps they did not realize that the structures were built and inhabited by sentient beings. Semi-telepathic species, such as the Kuk Kamsu, often struggle with understanding alien intelligence. Their thoughts are transmitted by pheromones, eliminating the need for theory of mind. As a result, they are poor at recognizing sentience in others. Regardless, the Kuk Kamsu began their destruction. Helmet-mounted recording equipment backed up to their ship's black box provides us with an accurate account of what happened next, supplemented by human testimonies. The reconnaissance team leader approached the first building, ignoring the unidentified creatures, humans, fleeing from it, and set it ablaze with his arm-mounted flamer. The second structure, larger than the first, received the same treatment. The Kuk Kamsu are large, 5 meters long and about 1 meter wide, typically holding themselves 2 meters off the ground. When they rear up on their hind limbs, they can stand even taller. The leader fired into the second floor for good measure before turning his attention to a departing vehicle. A laser shot crippled it, and he moved in to finish the job with his flamer. Inside the wreckage, he found 4 humans, a male, a female, and 2 juveniles. A typical human family. The commander hesitated, perhaps recognizing something different about them, but only for a moment. He raised his weapon to complete the extermination, only to realize that he no longer had an arm. It had been severed cleanly before he even registered the attack. A shriek of pain and confusion echoed as he stumbled back. There, standing between him and the cowering family, was another human, clad in fully encasing armor, holding a large kinetic pistol and a sword, an actual sword. The Kuk Kamsu commander, still processing his injury, brought up his remaining weapon, a multi-purpose laser, and fired. The human simply stepped aside. Not dodge, no. The movement was so fast that in the time it took the commander to aim and pull the trigger, the human had already assessed the attack's trajectory and repositioned. The commander fired again and again, but it was useless. The last footage from his helmet cam recorded a blur of movement beneath him before everything went dark. He was the first casualty of the human Kamsu conflict. So, who was this mysterious human with the sword? A warrior sent to defend the colony? No. He was there for the same reason the Kuk Kamsu reconnaissance team was, an armed scout, part of a faction preparing to invade the colony. Humanity is not a unified polity. The faction that sent the scout was at war with the one that built the colony, intending to seize the planet for themselves. This was not unusual. Human factions, and even factions within factions, constantly fought each other. And yet, these lightly armed scouts, equipped mainly for stealth, overwhelmed the Kuk Kamsu with ease. Humans are not merely carnivores. They are predator-scavengers, a rarity among sentient species. Most spacefaring civilizations evolved from herd or flock species, herbivores that developed intelligence to survive predation. The Amia, for example, were once prey to the Gia hawks of our homeworld, while the Kuk Kamsu lived in hive structures and feared the Mazu snakes. Each species has an ancestral predator that lingers in their racial memory. But humanity, Their primary predator has always been other humans. This is what makes them so dangerous. Their evolutionary arms race never ceased. Unlike us, who learn to hide from threats, humans hone their instincts to fight, to adapt, to outthink. Their cultures produce entire castes dedicated to perfecting the art of war. The European knight, the Japanese samurai, and countless others. Even their neural architecture evolved to handle conflict at an unprecedented level. They are fast, incredibly strong for their size, and most critically, highly intelligent in combat. But there is a paradox. If humans are such efficient killers, why did the scouts defend the colony instead of letting the Kuk Kamsu destroy it? The answer lies in their concept of war. To an outsider, human warfare may appear as a chaotic bloodbath, but it follows rules, elaborate, convoluted rules that dictate who can and cannot be killed. Civilians, particularly juveniles, are almost universally off limits. The Kuk Kamsu, in their ignorance, violated this unwritten law, provoking the scouts into action. The war escalated. The Kuk Kamsu, failing to comprehend the true nature of their enemy, sent a fleet. It was met by a combined human force. Their factions momentarily united against an external foe. The human ships, though technologically inferior, were built for combat, and their complex, coordinated tactics easily overwhelmed the simplistic strategies of the Kuk Kamsu. Ground battles, when they occurred, ended in massacres. Only then did the Kuk Kamsu finally ask, why was this happening? Upon recognizing humanity as a sentient species, they reached out. To their surprise, the humans accepted peace readily. The reason was simple. Humans had never encountered another sentient species before. Their outrage over the attack on the colony was matched by an insatiable curiosity. War ended, and the great cultural exchange began. Today, humans can be found across the galaxy, studying other species as much as others study them. Even now, some are on our own world. And no, I do not have one waiting behind that door. But the looks on your faces were priceless. Perhaps you'll remember this next time you think of scaring your peers with plastic hawk wings. The lesson here is simple. Never enter a conflict with humans. And if you must, ensure that other humans fight in your place. After all, that is what they were made for.